Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust.
We are literary agents that have taken our popular blog to YouTube, and we discuss all things publishing. But today, we talk all things that we read last month.
Our favorite thing!
It is, and I've got a lot here.
Yeah, you do. I have 2 books. I have a couple I'm going to show on from my phone because I did some audiobooks this month.
Okay, so who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right.
So I read Weather by Jenny Awful, and I had heard about this on, I believe, NPR. And as anybody who's watched one of our book videos knows, I have moved beyond researching a book, and if I hear about it or see a good cover, I just buy it and read it.
Right.
And it's working out really well for me, to be honest. I'm reading a lot of different things. This one is cool. Her writing style is, I think that I liked the story, although it's sort of all over the place and can be a little difficult to follow sometimes in only the best of ways. And I actually mean that as a compliment. She has such a unique and interesting writing style. And I think that I just got caught up in really watching that unfold more than I did the story. But I really think any author who's looking to other authors for different ways to write should definitely look up Jenny Awful.
Yeah, I have that one on my shelf, and I did dip into it a couple times, but it just wasn't grabbing me.
It's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah, it's one of those books that I feel like you've got to be in the mood for it.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was a quick read, but it was, what was interesting is on NPR, I guess it's called Weather. They kept talking about how the book was really about climate change, and I didn't quite get that. No. And what's funny is that I heard somebody else somewhere else talking about the book, and they described it completely differently. Right. And I thought that was really interesting.
Well, I realized that I never talk about the picture books that I read. So I wanted to I'm going to be quick. I have about 5 that I read in the month of March. So I figured
Did it take you all month to read 5 of them?
Huh? Well, just the ones that I picked up over the course of a month. It's some heavy reading here. So I'm just going to quickly shout them out because I think they were all wonderful in their own way, and I would highly recommend every one of them. So there's Milo Imagines the World by Matt Della Pena and Christian Robinson. My Monster and Me by Nadia Hussein and Ella Bailey. This one I loved. I wish I had this one as a kid. And this one I wish I had as a kid too, because I hated hugs. Don't Hug Doug. It's by Carrie Finnison and Daniel Wiseman.
What a great idea.
This is such a good book. And it's humorous the way it does it. It's like, you can hug a pug, you can hug a bug or a slug, but don't hug Doug. He doesn't like it. And then it just kind of goes through, the appropriate ways of asking if you can hug someone, or if you can't hug someone, how else you can greet them. Or
is that really for adults? Because I feel like adults always think they get to hug kids, and it freaks me out.
I hated that. And that is really what it's for. And it's like, changing the mindset around, do you have to hug someone? Because a lot of kids are brought up with, you hug your aunt and uncle, you hug, and you don't have to.
Yeah, so. Especially your creepy uncle.
Especially, yes, your creepy uncle. There's Butts Are Everywhere by Jonathan Stutzman and Heather Fox. They're such a good duo. They've done a couple books together. I actually believe that they are married.
Who doesn't love a butt book?
Yes, I know. They're married, and Heather's art is so fun and lively, and Jonathan is just hilarious. So definitely pick this one up.
I love it.
And then anybody here who knows picture books knows Adam Rex and Laura Park. They are both, picture book royalty.
I love that cover.
I know. It's called Unstoppable. It's out from Chronicle, and it is really hilarious. And it does a lot of fun things with, with structure and what can be done in a picture book. So I highly recommend checking it out just to see the way that you can experiment in picture books. But that's my stack of picture books for the month. And I'm going to try and do that in every video if I get some picture books that month.
Good idea. Okay. So I'm going to do, my next one, I'm going to do nonfiction, and bear with me because I have to pull it up on my phone because I do most of my nonfiction on audio, which I think some of our regular listeners and viewers know, because Olive and I listen to them on our walks. We go about almost 10 miles every weekend, so I get a lot of audio time.
Wow.
But this was actually a recommendation from my niece. Can you see
okay.
it? It's Megan Rapinoe's book, and I am, it's titled One Life. I am not a soccer fan. I don't know that I've ever seen a full game, so I have nothing negative to say about soccer. I just don't watch it. But this was a recommendation, and I started to listen to it, and I loved it. It was so good. And you know, my favorite thing about audiobooks, biographies, is that, and memoirs, are the author reads them in their own voice. So I think it just adds this really strong level of connection, and you get some true feeling and all of these things that come from that I love. And she just has this incredible story. And for me, listening to her read her book is inspiring, and it sort of gives you this feeling of like, look what she did to get where she is. And you know, and it's a reminder to all of us who are seeking something, of the amount of work anybody has put into for their success, and that, you know, while it might appear on the outside that success comes easy, it really doesn't. So I really like that one, would highly recommend it. And if you have a young female soccer player in your life, it would be great for them.
Yeah, it's a good gift.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I will spin off of your memoir biography, and I will say that I read You Never Forget Your First by Alexis Coe.
It's on my list.
Amanda Jan at BookEnds highly recommended this, and I completely understand why. First thing you'll notice is that it's not a brick of a book. It's a biography that's not 600 pages. It's also a biography not written of a president, not written by a white man. And there are a lot of there's a lot of myth busting in this book. And it's so funny and laugh out loud. And I learned a lot about, you know, not only George Washington, but sort of the inception of the country and how we write about dead presidents, and everything that sort of goes into writing biography. And if you do like biographies, you're interested in American history at all, I think this is a book that everyone should be reading. And I wish Alexis Coe would write one for all 45 presidents.
My next one is I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. I don't know if you can
I see that cover all over.
Great cover. I actually first heard Austin in a podcast, which is what inspired me to go ahead and grab this book. And my favorite story that she told in the podcast as well, so I'm not giving anything away, was that Austin Channing Brown is a Black woman. And she, at 9 years old, realized that she was constantly getting a reaction to her name, and just sort of thought, whatever. But then she had an interaction with a librarian that really made her question her name. And so she pressured her mom and was like, why did you name me this? And there's a whole story about it's like a great grandmother's name. And she's like, no, I know the story of where you got, why? And her mother confessed that they named her Austin so that when she became an adult and people saw her resume, they would think it was a white man.
Oh, wow.
And then it wouldn't be until she went in for the interview, but she would at least get the interview.
Wow.
And I think that really is just a powerful statement of what the whole book is. Yeah. And I love that story. And I love her. She's great. I've heard her on a couple different things, and she's fantastic.
So I've got two more. My next one is something that I know a lot of us at BookEnds have been reading. It's called Craft in the Real World by Matthew Salesis, I think is how you pronounce his last name. It is a deep book. Like, there's a lot going on in here. Mm-hmm. But basically, Matthew wants to sort of rethink the way we give feedback on writing. And that's both in a creative writing classroom, which he speaks a lot about, but I think it can be applied to all of publishing, critique partnering, anything of the sort. But he really talks about how we need to step out of what really is a white and Western point of view on critiquing story, and open up to different storytelling methods, but also the way that we give feedback and how we are internalizing that point of view, especially people of color or other marginalized creators. So really rethinking the way that we're giving our feedback. And I feel like I'm not doing it justice, but there is so much going on here in such a short page count that I don't know, I think it's worth reading.
I think it's a really valuable book for anybody in publishing, but not just like you said, not just you and me and editors, but teachers and critique partners and beta readers and anybody who is involved in any step of it, and writers, of course. It's a really valuable book. We talk a lot about the rejection that's I didn't connect with. It's usually I didn't connect with the voice, which I think, I will say, I think has sort of changed meanings over time, but also is no less problematic that you have people of marginalized voices writing, and you have, let's say, presumably white publishing saying, I can't relate to that, therefore I can't work on this book.
Right.
And, I think in Craft, he really goes in to explain that and that thinking, which I think that, we all do better when we have a better understanding of things. And I think this book gives us the understanding of why these things are problematic instead of just saying this is problematic.
And what I really love too is that he broke down the element of every story: plot, character, setting, point of view, tone. He broke it all down. Each one of those elements has maybe a 3 to 4 page discussion about how we normally give feedback, how we can change that, how we should think about it. It's, I think he even says it in the book, you wouldn't take a job that you're not prepared for. So it's the same thing in terms of critiquing somebody's work. You should be prepared for that, and you should know how to do that in a sensitive, but also in a way that understands story in general.
Yeah, and one thing to note, and he actually says this at the beginning too, the book isn't necessarily sit down and read through.
Yeah.
It's, sort of pick and choose, find out the things that are going to be beneficial to you. And he wrote it with that in mind, as I think a lot of good nonfiction is written.
Yeah, and it sits on my desk right next to my little negotiating book. And if I ever have to refer to it, if I'm ever concerned about the way that I might be giving feedback, I just reference it really quickly because it's that easy to do. It's broken down in a way in which you can find what you need very quickly.
Yeah, because change doesn't happen just because you read something. You have to actually put the work in. So
exactly. So Craft in the real world, pick it up if you're critiquing anybody's work. Have it on your desk whenever you are.
Yep. I will go now. I mean, who didn't pick up this book just because of the cover?
It is a really great cover.
And as book people, who doesn't pick up anything that says library?
That's true.
So for those reasons, I picked up The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And it was a super fast, it was a great weekend read for me. And it's the story of it's sort of a sliding doors story. I guess it is a sliding doors story. A story of what happens if you had made the other decision. And it's a woman who ends up in the Midnight Library, where time sort of stands still, and each night, well, at midnight, she ends up in the life that would have happened if she had not made the decision of her biggest regret. So it's, what is your biggest regret? Well, what happens if you didn't make that decision? Here's the life that you would have had.
Wow.
And it's really sweet and touching and sometimes funny, but a really nice, quick read. And I recommend it if anybody just wants to sit down and lose themselves in a book. I did with this one.
Wow. Well, this is my favorite book of the month.
Yes.
Final Revival of Opal and Nev. I got it from Book of the Month. Okay, so if you've read Daisy Jones and the Six, then you are very familiar with the format. So this is told in an oral transcript, and it follows Sunny, the reporter, as she digs into a legendary duo, a black Afro-punk female singer and a British sort of like Beatles-esque kind of white man singer. And it's just their connection and how they came to be a duo and then the very catastrophic event that tore them apart, but also killed her father.
Oh, wow.
So it is, I didn't give anything away there because it's all right here on but it is really, it's one of those books, like you said, lose yourself in an afternoon. I started this one night and then the next day I finished it.
Wow, I'll have to put
It's
that on my
super
list.
fast. It's the oral interview. As soon as you get started and you sort of get pulled into each of their worlds, you're done for. And there's twists and turns, and I don't know, I feel like it starts the conversation where Daisy Jones left, and it just pushes it and keeps going and does it really damn well, if you ask me, in my opinion. But yeah, if you like Daisy Jones and the Six, pick it up. If you like music, if you like fun fiction set in contemporary times, I don't know, pick it all up.
Everybody here liked Daisy Jones.
Yeah, everybody at BookEnds did like Daisy Jones, and I think that this is, I don't know, I thought it was really good. So.
Excellent. That's it for me.
That's it for me too. We talked a lot about books, which we haven't done in a while. So this was great. If you have any book recommendations for us, definitely let us know. And we'll see you next month with what we read in April.
Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, I forgot that. My one job.